you're likely doing research without even knowing it. Thinking about how to formalize the collection of that intelligence and giving some sort of measurable return to that investment is a really powerful force, and it's not that hard to do.
Welcome to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc., where we feature experts in growth and brand visibility for law firms and architecture, engineering, and construction firms. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Calcote King. I'm your host, and I'm also the principal and president of Reputation Inc. We are a public relations and thought leadership marketing agency for B2B professional services firms, including architecture, engineering, and construction firms. To learn more, go to rep-inc, that's inc with a K.com. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say none of us believe that relying on assumptions and gut feelings is a good way, a good way to manage or grow a business. Decision-making in AEC firms should be driven by research and data, but that is also easier said than done. So today we've invited Julie Witecki of FMI Consulting to talk about how to establish programs that enable AEC firms to shape market strategies using research. And this is a small preview of Julie's upcoming S&PS Southwest Regional Conference session on April 11th called Navigating the Road Ahead, Translating Research into Strategy. So I'm really excited about that. So, and to give you a little background about why Julie is the perfect person to be talking about this, Julie is a senior strategy consultant at FMI Consulting. She's got a career spanning more than 20 years. And in her role, she helps clients refine their marketing and BD strategies for greater efficiency and impact. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Happy to be
I'm
here.
excited. Yeah, excited to talk about this. So, well, I did that little intro, but I'd love for you to tell me a little bit more about your career, how you got into AEC, and then what led you to doing the consulting work you're doing.
Sure, thank you. So, like most people in the AEC realm relative to business development and marketing, I completely and totally stumbled upon it. There was no intention behind it, but it's been a 20-year career that I've absolutely loved. And I spent about 15 of those years as a industry practitioner, and just recently transferred over to FMI, which is a leading consulting and investment banking firm dedicated to the built environment. We only serve AEC companies.
That's
And
great.
many of our companies really struggle to clearly articulate market strategy. So I help them do that and turn those strategies into kind of actionable, really things that they can really implement through business development and marketing tactics.
I'm really excited to talk about this. So and my guess is that a lot of AEC firms don't even really understand what you mean when you say research and how that can translate to helping them with their marketing and BD. So tell me one, why should they care? Give us the why about it.
Sure. I feel like we're in this fantastic age of kind of technology transformation and research. It surrounds us all the time with the descendants of AI into our worlds. You hear phrases like big data and predictive analytics. And companies are doing a lot to invest in softwares that kind of leverage that data that exists within their companies. But the real why around doing smart kind of decision-based strategy development and using research to kind of support that is because this contextual data, which usually is not something that's rear view mirror like pulling data from your systems and making predictions. It's very much windshield and looking out into the future, and using that information to make really practical, thoughtful decisions that will move your company forward.
Yeah. So when you kind of define it that way, it sounds like a no-brainer, but what's keeping firms from investing in research?
Um, I think there's a lot of things that keep firms investing from research. Sometimes it's a resource constraint,
Mm.
and people see research as being either time consuming, they don't understand the staff or resources that need to go into it, or view third party research as being incredibly expensive,
Mm.
when in all reality, it's probably one of the greater investments, one of the easier things to see an ROI around.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'd love for you to kind of just, let's say an AEC firm was interested in research to inform their marketing and biz dev. What does that look like? What are you researching? What are those components? Can you kind of build a picture of what that, because I do guess that a lot of them don't really even kind of are able to kind of grasp what that means and what it looks like.
Sure. So at FMI, we focus on we call it the 5 C's of context, super
Hmm.
creative name, to focus in on climate, which is kind of your economic environment
Hmm.
and the political, environmental, legal, everything that's kind of surrounding your business.
Mm.
The second C is customer, those who are buying your services, and the perceptions that they have of your company, the desires that they have for their business, the reason they pick, or the reason they need AEC services. Um, we also look really closely at competitors,
Mm.
having a really clear and honest look at who we're competing against, so we know that where their strengths and weaknesses are,
Hmm.
to build strategy, to counteract that. Collaborators is the often not thought of research component of the 5 C's. It's the business partners that you have that have an interest in your business being successful. Really looking to understand how your network is
Yeah.
part of your business strategy. And then, so all of those first four are external factors. The fifth C is internal.
Mm.
There's a lot of research that can be done inside the company that sort of takes the veil and the ego off of where you believe you are, and allows
Mm.
you to look into that magnifying mirror. I often tell my clients it's like when you go to a hotel, there's that really awful mirror that when you flip it to the wrong side, it like shines deep into your pores, and you can see
Yes.
all the flaws in all your skin. And that's what company research does. It really
Mm.
shows you where you stand, financially, operationally, in your leadership, in your culture. There's a lot of different facets that can come together for that research.
Ah, wow. And so it sounds like, so what is your data set when you're conducting this research? Are you talking to clients, current clients? Are you talking to, it sounds like you would talk to employees. Tell me about how you're gathering the information that you're collecting.
So we like to balance primary and secondary sources.
Hmm.
Secondary sources are really informing your climate, helping you understand kind of where the market potential is. It's sort of the starting point to identify trends that might be influencing business, and give you some sense of where you can start going. And we use that secondary research then to build on our primary research, which is usually done in a combination of survey or interview to customers, to competitors, to your collaborators inside your company, just to get a really holistic picture of kind of straight from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. What about prospective clients? How do you, is that something you're ever able to build a picture for them? Like what does their market look like, and how do you get that data?
Absolutely, yeah. Prospective clients is a great target space for assessing where your growth potential is.
Right. Yeah.
If you're contemplating kind of a market expansion or a geographic expansion, understanding kind of where your brand sits in the mind of the industry, or where new targets have need so that
Yeah.
you can grow service to address that.
Hmm.
Absolutely on the table for a really in-depth and important piece of research.
Yeah, that's great. So, is this something that you are doing for firms? How often are you doing this, and when are you typically brought in? What's the trigger that, that sort of point that often firms are saying, "Hey, we need this." That really kind of, you know makes them say, "We need to turn to an expert. We need this data. We need this insight."
Really good question. Comes at us from a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
I would say most common, firms are looking to do research when they enter a long-term strategic planning phase,
Mm,
usually a 3 to 5 year kind of visioning of what they want their company to be and where they want it
yeah.
to go. Um, Oftentimes we see it as kind of a ongoing refresh of where do we stand. Market perception studies are great things to do on an annual basis as part of your business planning process.
Mm,
Um, we do a lot of research around ownership and management transition to understand, um, really from a company internal perspective, do you have the right leadership in place? Have you shored up the succession plans so that you can make some difficult decisions about how your business is going to transfer ownership hands? Um, and then there are oftentimes um, firms that come to us when they discover they have a problem.
yeah.
We're not profitable, we're losing work, we can't get into this client, and so we help them use research to kind of uncover what those barriers are so that you can build strategy that allows you to move past them.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I could see that. And you hate for that to be the point where they come to you, and you wish they'd come to you before the problem was there. But yeah, that's great that firms are coming to you when they're doing that planning. Is Are you, so once you've done that research? It's Are you, as part of that, are you offering recommendations out of it? So are you looking at the data and going, okay, we're seeing opportunity here, or we're seeing perception challenges here, and here's what you can do about it? Are you providing that next level? Tell me what clients expect whenever they get that research from you, in terms of actionable steps.
Yeah, doing research to research gives you a beautiful report with a pile of information that often just sits on the shelf, and then you don't feel the ROI from what could have been a significant investment. So we really stress that research and strategy go hand in hand, and that you should be looking to triangulate data points around a working towards a solution that allows the business to grow, allows the business to overcome a problem, and then build a strategic plan from that, something
Mm,
that has a very measurable objective, something that's really bound by a scope and is leveraging your competitive advantage so that you can achieve the goals that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be. I would think that I would be giddy to get my hands on something like, just to have that kind of data and insight. What are some common mistakes that you see, or that you just that people should be aware of going into, let's say they've decided to undertake research? So obviously, mistake one would be just neglecting it. But let's say they've decided to undertake it. What would be some, common mistakes to avoid, or issues to be aware of when undergoing research like this and working with a
Sure,
partner like you?
sure. I think starting out with a really solid research design, understanding the purpose of your research so that it's very intentional
Yeah.
and that output takes you to the place you want to go. You can very easily rabbit hole down a place that, while could be interesting, may not help you achieve goals or solve problems.
Yeah.
Um, so
So yeah, so just getting a good understanding of what you want to get out of that research. Do you ever find that there's still lack of buy-in? Is there a buy-in issue, or once they've come to you, that buy-in is solved, and you don't have to navigate that? So on the marketing side, we often find there's a decision, but sometimes buy-in isn't made throughout the firm, and we still have work to do, even once we're brought in. Is that
mhm.
a challenge for you, or no?
It certainly can be if you don't start
Yeah.
off right.
Yeah.
And I think the best place to start, and sometimes this is where people stop and find they go wrong, but I think the best place to start is with a really good, just internal SWOT assessment.
Mm.
Really looking closely at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and
Mm.
then building your research plan, designing your research around trying to determine those big, if true, discoveries that you had in your SWOT analysis. And what I mean by that is, we believe this to be true. Well,
Mhm.
that's really big for your business if we can get data to validate that.
Mm.
That can move the needle, that can solve a problem, that will help you grow. Those are the discovery points that we like to start with our clients, so that there's that internal perception of this is who we think we are,
Mm.
um, and now let's go out and see where we actually show up in the world.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I want to go back to your point about, often the biggest mistake is not having a clear direction on how you're leveraging that research. Can you walk us through what you see are the most common use cases for using research with AEC firms? Like, what are some of the most common ways, and or best ways that firms are engaging FMI and taking it and really making effective change for their firms?
Um, I think long-term strategic planning is one of the most effective use of research, and long-term strategic planning can mean a lot of different things for different people. That term gets thrown around a lot, but really you're being true to who your mission is,
Mm-hmm.
and you're setting a mark in the sand that says we're going to evolve our company without changing our mission, so that we can grow, so that we can give opportunity to our people, um, so that we can gain more market share. And when research aligns up with all of that to give you a path forward, that becomes a really effective and powerful place.
Yeah.
I think that's long-term research is long-term strategic planning is the number one go-to for research.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing within that they're asking all sorts of questions like, what should we add new services? Should we niche down our services? Should we, what's our brand like? Should we invest more and build brand awareness? Are those a lot of the kind of questions, that second layer of questions within strategic planning that they're asking? Do we have the right people in the right places on our team? Do we have the right culture? Is that the detail that the research is addressing within that strategic planning process?
Yeah, we try to look at the company holistically,
Yeah,
and from several different angles. We want to look at kind of a sales and marketing perspective
Mm,
of how and where are you getting work.
got it.
We want to look at your operations and
Mm,
see where are you performing well, what standard operating procedures are functioning at their best, where are there not compliance with
yeah,
that, where do you see uh, financial performance failing because your
got it.
operational processes aren't in place. We can take deep dives into the financial picture and really truly understand the health and wellness of a company. And
Ah,
then finally, and sometimes even most importantly, is the talent. Um,
yeah,
under, Understanding how the humans in the organization are, their sentiment towards the company, their belief in the values and mission, uh, their their um, their acceptance and utilization of their roles.
yeah.
You can gain a lot of understanding by looking at those four pillars of the business.
Yeah, that's really, really, I can imagine how valuable that is. So that's great. Well, um, is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd love to leave our listeners with? And I know you're presenting on this, so maybe a teaser to what kinds of information. If you're attending that conference, I'll be there too. I'm presenting as well, so hopefully we're not presenting at the same time, and I can come listen to your session. Maybe that you want to leave our listeners with about this topic.
Yeah, I guess I want to leave listeners with the encouragement that you're likely doing research without even knowing it.
Mhm.
We're constantly gathering information through networking events or your daily news email briefs that come in, client meetings. That brings information into your business at all times. And
Mm,
thinking about how to formalize the collection of that intelligence and giving some sort of measurable return to that investment is a really powerful force, and it's not that hard to do. So I hope that that's what um, the SMPS members at the Southwest Regional Conference can pick up from the session that I do. That this is not rocket science. There are some tangible ways to bring it in, and I also just want to reinforce that FMI provides the industry with quarterly outlooks to kind of get context data.
mm,
And we do some deep dive reports on timely and relevant trends, and all that's available on our website for free.
awesome, love it.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking to Julie Witecki of FMI Consulting. And again, if you're heading to the SMPS Southwest Regional Conference, make sure you stop by her session on April 11th. And Julie, thank you for your time today.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.